The Federal Coalition has called for the bombing of Darwin during World War II to be commemorated with a day of national significance. Next year is the 70th anniversary of the bombing of the city by Japanese planes. While Darwin today is barely recognisable as the same frontier town that bore the brunt of those air raids, plenty of physical reminders remain. The relics have survived in the face of cyclones, tropical heat and redevelopment. But there are concerns some of them won't last, as Sally Bothroyd reports.
Does anyone know how many times Darwin got bombed? 64 times. They were relentless.
Gary Gallagher is a World War II history buff. For the past 3 years, he's been running tours that highlight the important role Darwin played in the conflict.
This is where we have our Anzac Day services.
People love this type of thing, and I've found people that travel the world just doing war tours. They've just found this aspect in Darwin, which is fascinating to them. As you can see, that goes underground a long way.
Many of these tour-goers are following in the footsteps of relatives who were based in Darwin during the war.
And the original sandbag's still there.
Gary Gallagher is keen to show them Darwin's hidden treasures, the often crumbling remains of the city's old defences.
There was one guy last year, he'd never been to Darwin before, and he was retracing his father's footsteps, so I asked where his dad was and what he did, and he said he was with the 19th Heavy Anti-Aircraft Guns. And I said, well, I can take you to exactly where he was.
At the beginning of 1942, the Japanese, fresh from their victory at Pearl Harbor, set their sights on northern Australia. On February the 19th, 188 Japanese planes launched a devastating attack on Darwin, leaving much of the town in rubble.
Too few Australians are aware of the significance of the bombing of Darwin. More than 250 people were killed in the raid. Many more were wounded. More bombs were dropped on Darwin by the Japanese than on Pearl Harbor.
It was just first of many air raids on northern Australia over the next 2 years.
We were as I say, the biggest attack ever on Australian soil, and we're very close to being invaded. And if we had have been, maybe history would have been different.
Given it's the 70th anniversary next year, what a great year to finally make that decision as a nation to forever commemorate what happened here 70 years ago.
Archeologist Silvano Jung is keen to preserve evidence of those destructive bombing raids 70 years ago. He's carried out an archaeological examination of this bomb crater, which was uncovered during roadworks in Darwin CBD.
It was pointed out by a passing motorist who said that C-shaped section looks like a bomb crater. This one's got a very defined lip as well. As the soil gets thrown out, it lands on forming a circle rim around the top of the crater.
He's also discovered a second bomb crater hidden in industrial land a stone's throw from Darwin city centre.
To the untrained eye, you can't see very much here, but there's an obvious lip to the crater on this side of the impact area.
This crater was documented on a survey map, but Dr Jung was surprised to find there's still physical evidence of the impact.
I don't think it went off, so we've just got an impact crater. So there could be a chance that the bomb itself is in there still.
Dr Jung hopes both of these craters will be heritage listed and preserved.
We have shipwrecks underwater, but the only sort of terrestrial evidence, apart from bullet holes in bank buildings around town and whatnot, is that out in the fields we still have these sorts of sites.
22 of the territory's World War II sites have been heritage listed in the last decade, but the top end's harsh weather conditions have taken their toll on some war relics.
Here is the anchor point to the anti-submarine boom cable, right here.
Many of them are on government land, and Gary Gallagher is calling on the government to better maintain the sites.
I can see it falling away since I've been doing this bombing of Darwin tour.
The Territory Government says it spent $900,000 over the last 7 years looking after war heritage sites. And it claims the Defence of Darwin Museum, which will open next year, will provide the ultimate World War II history experience.
It will be a focal point for artefacts to be displayed and the story to be told of what actually happened here over World War II.
There you go.
Next year, Darwin will commemorate the 70th anniversary of the bombing raids on the town. While the event will draw tourists from interstate and overseas, Gary Gallagher hopes it'll also highlight the need to ensure some of Darwin's war relics don't disappear forever.
But they do need to be looked after and preserved, because if they don't, these things are going to disappear very soon, and our kids will not be able to see what Darwin was all about in the bombing of Darwin.